Hey, we're going to take another trip down the road. Winter won't give up, or at least here in the east. Another crappy drive up to Fargo today, and I just have to tell you, it's got to quit pretty soon. We got to have those 50-degree days. We've got to have the type of days where farmers can get out in the field. Now, I know a lot of you in northwest North Dakota are sitting there saying, what do you complain about, Heitkamp? At least you got moisture. I get it. I understand it, and it'll come soon enough, but it is April. It is the Twins opener tomorrow, and so I'm looking for some good weather. I really am. A lot of things to cover today. We're going to get a chance to visit a little bit about aid to some of the ranchers that are short hay, that are short pasture land, and it's looking as though they might even have to cull their herds a little bit, which is the worst case scenario, and of course nobody wants that. And so the federal government's stepping in, and every county in North Dakota qualifies. We'll talk to Marcy Svenningsson about that a little bit later. But here's an announcement that I think is going to shock some of you. You know the name. You know who he is. He's been a statewide leader in the Republican Party for years. He was the majority leader in the North Dakota House for years, which in the legislature is the most powerful position. I mean, that's just the truth. Al Carlson. Al, good to have you coming down the road with us.
You know, we're down the road, and now we're going to take a different direction on the road, Joel.
Yeah.
I'm going to run for city commission in Fargo. And the big question was, why in the world do you want to do that? I mean, you had a pretty good position where you were at in the state legislature. You worked your way through the food chain. The point is, this is all about Fargo now. This isn't about the state legislature. This is a town that I grew up in. I shouldn't say grew up in. Went to college here, stayed here, taught here, built here, helped build the community, raised my family here. And I have a great deal of respect and interest in this community. And I think it's that now that I'm retired, I have time to invest in this city and invest my time in making it a better city.
When did you start thinking about it? Because I know you well enough to know that this isn't impulse. This isn't something where you woke up in the morning and said, hey, you know what? I'm kind of bored. I'm going to run for the city commission. I mean, when did you decide to make this run?
And I didn't do it because I was bored, but I did make that. I've been thinking, and my wife encouraged me to do it because she is, as well as I have been involved in building this community and work. We want to make sure that we have good direction for the future. And without her blessing, because she put up with 26 years of me traveling back and forth to Bismarck, I'd have never done it. But she said, you know, you need a conservative voice that has some common sense and kind of an even demeanor on the city commission. And I said, well, if you're with me, I'd be interested in doing it. So we mulled it over for a few weeks, and all of a sudden the deadline's coming up. And she said, either do it or get off, or don't talk, or don't ever talk about it again. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to do it.
Does it break your heart that this isn't a race that gets settled in the fall?
No, I just love I love the fact that it's a 2-month race, and I think that the taxpayers do.
Yeah.
They don't want to be inundated with the 5 mailings a day, you know, like happens now in the legislative races. I think last time when I ran and did not win for the House, I think we did like 15 mailers. I mean, that's and spent a lot of money.
Right.
And obviously you got to raise a little money to do this, and then you have to invest trying to get your message out. And I learned a long time ago, Joel, and I'm sure you did too, is to keep the message simple. You know, don't get it confusing. You're not going to save the world. You're only one of 5 votes, and you need 3 to do anything. Mm-hmm. So you got to be able to build some consensus, and you got to have good ideas. And I think I can bring that to the table.
Well, then what is that message? What's the passion that brings you into here and says, you know what, I'm ready to serve in the Fargo City Commission?
Well, part of it is the fact that when I started building, Fargo was 50,000 people. Now it's 140,000 people, or close to that. It's not the same city that I started in, and public safety is a big concern. Safety in our schools is a big concern. Taxes on your home and, you know, promoting home ownership. Obviously, I'm a builder. And being able to put people in housing and first-time housing is becoming very difficult with the cost of specials and the ever-increasing tax that's put on by all the political subdivisions. So we need to get these groups together, and we need to start being a little more efficient on how the city, the schools, the park board, the county spend their money, and not continually be raising these taxes, because Fargo alone, with all its growth, Joel, every year there's a lot more money in the pot. Yeah. With all the new things that are built, they all go on the tax rolls. And you've got to take a good picture and examine all the exemptions that are out there. You know, I'm a cost-benefit analysis guy. If I give you a 5-year tax break and I get a 40-year benefit in return, I'm probably going to say, yeah, I'm going to support that. But if the numbers don't work, I won't support it. So property tax, infrastructure, public safety, I think are things. It breaks my heart to see all these stabbings and shootings and things that have happened around Fargo in recent years. Controversy within our police department, which I don't know all the facts, so I can't say anything, but we need to get that ship uprighted so that the people, when their kids go out at night, they feel safe.
I want to talk about what I know is a passionate issue of yours, and you've been talking about, which is property taxes. And everybody, you and I know this because we both served in different roles in state government, but everybody confuses, evaluations and mills, those type of things. And a mill in your community in Fargo is a whole lot different than a mill in Hankinson. And that rate, how much goes along with it, how many mills. In Fargo, I'm going to give you an example, and this isn't in the community you're running for the city commission for, but it's a family that I know very well in West Fargo. They're looking to make that move. And he talks about how, well, the evaluation of my house has gone up, I'll probably get more for it. I made the point that if you add up all those years you've lived there and all those increases that came in, you didn't gain anything. If that money had just gone into a savings account, you probably would have done just fine. I think people don't realize that. Well, they pay it once a year, Al.
Well, and assessments are, everybody wants the highest possible appraisal and assessment when they're going to sell, and they want the absolute lowest assessment they can when the tax guy comes to town. So what you need to do is get the budget back so people understand numbers and percentages instead of mills, because if I told you right now, explain to me exactly the formula where we get from your assessed value to your taxable value, you'd have a hard time drawing me a chart. And it shouldn't be that complicated. We tried to change it at the state, but you know who the biggest obstacle was? The cities, the counties, the school districts, the park boards, because they don't want it to be simpler.
Yeah.
And we've got to continue to work with the state. Obviously, the city government is completely different. There's certain things they have to do to run a city, and we need to make sure they do those well. And then things that they don't need to be involved in, we make sure we aren't doing them.
So, you did your homework when it comes to those mills and where the property taxes is asked for, not and paid into, obviously. And there's an others category, drains, ambulance, those type of issues. But what are the big issues that jumped out at you? The mill rate that said, okay, to run this department, we've got to have this many mills.
And I can't tell you each department, but I tell you, if I'm a city commissioner, I'm going to go through and meet all those department heads and find out. I'm a big performance audit guy. I don't even know if the city does that. But if you did business in 1980 that way, are you still doing it the same way in 2022? The answer is you probably shouldn't be. So I like not only audits to make sure the money's well spent, but I like the audit that says, here's a new direction that would save the taxpayers money. And that's kind of been my focus in the legislature. It's my focus for the city of Fargo, is to make sure that we're not duplicating services, that we're taking care of those who can't take care of themselves, that we put a reasonable amount of money into our infrastructure, because if you don't take care of it, you can't afford to keep it.
So what is Fargo doing wrong? Because that isn't personal. That isn't, hey, this commission has their head up there, whatever. I mean, this is something you want to get on there and change policy-wise that they're doing right now.
The biggest thing would be taking a good look at how the city functions as a government. Is it spending the money wisely? There's always going to be issues come up whether the city should be involved in mandates. Should they be telling every business they can't be open on Sunday, or they can be open on Sunday, or should they be telling them you can't go in that business without a mask? I'm not so sure that some of those things are necessary. I think they need to get their ducks in a row on providing public safety, providing proper infrastructure, providing a proper growth pattern for the city. And I think those are strengths that I have that I can bring to that. There's no answer for it all, and it's an education process. It's not like you and I when we worked at the state. This is different. There's 5 people making decisions for 140,000 people on a weekly basis, and we need to make sure that we're doing the best job we possibly can. Are they all wrong? Is every decision they've made wrong? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Can anybody do their job better? I would say you can.
Well, let me go down this road then, because as I said when I introduced you, you were a majority leader in the North Dakota House. That's a very, very powerful position. Governors, if they want something, they go through that. They do. They're going to knock on your door. I know that you and Doug Burgum probably didn't go camping together. You know that you and I mean that's the nature of what we did from a legislative branch. That being said, if you win this seat, you're one of 5.
Yeah.
And you know you're not going to have. You're going to need 3, as you said earlier. Is that going to be a major change for you?
Yeah, well, of course it's a major change, but no matter where you're at, sometimes the hardest sales job was in the legislature was your own caucus. So what you need to do is be a consensus builder, and if your idea loses, doesn't mean it was a bad idea. It means you just didn't have the votes. And my job as being, I think I'm a good communicator. I think I can explain things pretty well. And what you need to do is come up with good ideas, not crazy ideas. You know, just little things to you incrementally made things better. Is Fargo a poorly run city? I would say not. Can it be more efficient? Yes. I take a conservative viewpoint on things. I'm a limited government, law and order kind of guy. I mean, you'll find no better supporter for our firefighters and our police officers than me. You know, I expect accountability on their part, but I also expect that our community is safe when it's all done, and if there's something they need, we should provide it for those departments. It's just kind of disturbing to read in the paper of all the fighting that's going on about the police chief and stuff. I don't know a lot about it. I'll study it. But those points need to come out, and they need to be properly vetted before decisions are made in saying fire the guy.
Okay. The relationship between the Fargo City Commission and Fargo Public Schools, do you think it's good or bad?
Well, I would say that there's not enough communication between the two. You and I both know that the biggest elephant in the room is education when it comes to your property tax. 65% of that tax is of schools, and they need to be as responsible as we are as far as when there's new growth, they get more money. The way the budgets are made today, it's kind of interesting, but the school board sends in its wish list of how much money it needs. The city sends in theirs, county sends in theirs, park board sends in theirs. They add it all up at the county level and say, okay, it's going to take 532 mills to cover that. I'm not sure that I agree that that's the right way to do business. Because everybody turned in their numbers. Was everybody working together to see if they could keep that lower? They could be more efficient with it. It needs to be done.
Is there a website, Facebook page, all that?
Well, that Facebook page is coming. You always know that it costs money to run a campaign, and we're going to do a good job of getting the name and the message out. And again, I believe it's best to keep it simple. What's important to you is a growing, prosperous Fargo. And that'll be kind of the message that goes through. It'll be the Carlson campaign will be set up with an account and a post office box, and any donations, like you and I both know, you don't turn them down unless it's somebody you can't agree with at all, and then you send his check back.
Good luck in your race.
Yes, thanks,
You're welcome
Joel.
back here anytime.